Good afternoon, friends. Good afternoon. I wanted to talk to you about something that many of you have asked me and requested that I speak on. As some of you know, I have a book that is coming out called Detox Your Circle, Maintaining Strategic Relationships. And in the book, I will go through my steps to creating a winning team culture and also a great circle of alliance. And what I do is I use many of the same techniques, many of the same skill sets that I use to create a team in a corporate environment. I leverage those and I transfer those over to maintaining my own personal circle and my own business circle. Putting together a team and maintaining a circle of friends and a circle of alliance. It's very, very, very similar. You have to toggle between the two, but you're using the same skills. Some of the same insights are at play. So I would like to start this series of videos with this first one, which has to do with what used to be called divide and conquer. I don't use that nomenclature. I use one-on-one marketing or one-to-one marketing. With divide and conquer, it's about sequestering each of your team members, each of your employees, getting to know them so well, finding out their strengths and weaknesses, and then leveraging that information to get them to perform, or sometimes to get them to collapse. I mean, depending on what your method is and depending on what the outcome is that you're looking at. But I do not subscribe to the mindset of divide and conquer. I'd rather call it one-to-one marketing in the sense of the people back in 1994 who wrote The One-to-One Future. And it was by Don Peppers and Martha Rogers in a 1994 book. And basically, one-to-one marketing or one-on-one marketing is understanding that everybody's your customer and you want to individuate, you want to customize their services, you want to find out what their preferences are, you want to find out what their likes are, their loves, their dislikes, and you want to fashion an array of services for them that is appropriate and just right for what they like, for what they need, and what's going to allow them to be able to thrive and to do well. And so any corporation, any business wants to know their customers to the extent that they will be able to provide them a level of service that will allow them to retain that customer and possibly have that customer speak so highly of them that through referrals and word of mouth referrals that other people come back. I think you want to apply the same philosophy to your employees, to your colleagues, anybody that you are in a strategic relationship with. You want to find out who they are at their core. So not just in a work environment, but you want to find out their background. You want to find out who they love. You want to know about their family. You want to know where they're from. You want to know where they go on vacation. What are their hobbies? What do they like to do? What motivates them? What puts them in a mindset of peak performance? And you use this information, you leverage this information during challenging times to get them to remember what's the most important thing to them. And then they are able to perform and do well. And at the same time, you want to provide them with services and needs that are just right for what they want and what is going to fulfill them and satisfy them. So this is the way, when I was in corporate America, this is the way I treated each of my employees. I would have a meeting with each one of them when I was starting a team, when I was building a team. I always started off with meeting with each one of them for at least an hour, sometimes an hour and a half to 2 hours, where I'm asking questions, and they're doing all the talking, but I'm asking these questions, and mind you, I ask the same questions, pose the same questions to each employee to get that kind of information about who they are at their core, what What is their vision for their life? What is their life purpose? What are they looking to accomplish? Who do they see themselves as? What do they think their role is going to be on this team? Why? What do they want to know from me? How do they want to be received and seen? That sort of thing. Getting to under the skin of my employees and of my friends and of my colleagues. And then after those meetings, during those meetings, I'm also giving information about myself, because the goal of the meeting is not only for me to get to understand them and know what makes them tick and understand how I'm going to be able to provide them with a level of coaching and mentoring and friendship to some degree that's going to allow them to thrive, but also to build their trust. So I'm going to share information about myself. I'm going to talk about my background. I'm going to talk about my strengths, my expertise. I'm also going to talk about my vulnerabilities. I'm going to talk about what I'm not good at. I'm going to talk about why I need them on my team. And so once they see that I'm laying it all out for them to a great degree, that allows them to build trust in me. And I'm building trust in them. And there's a two-way trust relationship. So once those meetings are over, I know who this person is. They know who I am. I know what they bring to the table. They know what I'm bringing to the table. They know what can be expected from me. They know what my standards are. They know what my expectations are. They know what the boundaries are and what the guidelines are. And I actually know what those are for them. And now I have this meeting with every single employee. Most of my teams are between 9 and 15 employees. So this process can take a month. It can take 3 weeks, 2 weeks. But nevertheless, I go through that entire process so that by the end of a month, I have gotten to know my new team in depth. And they know me. And so the next step is projecting that trust that they have in me, using my skill set to take the trust that they have in me and help them have that trust in each other. Does that make sense? So they all trust me because they know me and they know what my standards are and they know the standards that I'm holding them to. And now I'm going to get them to know their teammates along the same vein. They're going to get to know their teammates' strengths. We're going to focus on strengths. They're going to already find out what the weaknesses are, right? The vulnerabilities. And I don't require anybody to divulge their weaknesses or vulnerabilities. That stuff just happens automatically with time. When you are completely convinced and completely in an environment where everybody understands their value and everybody knows your value and can attest to your value, then it's easy to let down your guard. It's easy to put down the sword and the shield. It's easy to open up to constructive criticism, to feedback, because your value is known. Your greatness is known. Your potential is understood. The fact that you're going to succeed and have been successful is known. So there's no need for anybody on the team to be defensive or feel that there's a threat, you know, because they are surrounded by people that value them as much as they value the other people, because that is the type of environment that I create. But it does start with having those one-on-one meetings, what I call one-on-one or one-to-one marketing, where I find out what they're all about, what they want, what they're looking for, what they can expect, build trust, and then share with them, show them how to trust everybody else the way they trust me. Moving along, after you get to know everybody, you understand their expectations and what your expectations are, what their roles are, then there's a point at which you have to hold them accountable to a particular standard and to goals. So you're creating goals together, but everybody's on a different level. Everybody's not at the same level, so that's where situational leadership comes in. So situational leadership is a management philosophy. I believe it came out in the 90s, and I cannot remember the name of the person who created this. My gosh, I will come back and edit this probably and insert it in. But I use this philosophy and this technique all the time in every area of my life. You have to take the time to understand and to ask questions to understand where people are in terms of their development and their skill sets. And then you engage with them accordingly. Someone who's very new at something, they're learning it for the first time, you're not going to give them so much leeway and so much rope to hang themselves with. You're going to be more of a micromanager for someone who doesn't know what they're doing. It's appropriate for you to be more directive as a leader. It's appropriate for you to be there very quickly to answer their questions. Okay? Now, if you have someone who is experienced and really knows what they're doing, it would really be a bad idea for you to try to micromanage them. It's going to be bad for their morale. It's going to be bad for your reputation. They're not going to be productive. It's all bad all around. So someone who's at a different skill level where they actually know what they're doing, your management style needs to be a little bit more hands-off. It needs to be more observing. It needs to be more where you just check in once in a while to see if they need your help. But never be directive with someone who already knows what they're doing. It's demeaning. Think of times where you've been in a job or you've been in a situation where you have the job well in hand and you know exactly what you're doing. And then there's someone out of whatever inferiority complex they have or whatever threats they're feeling, they come to you and they try to redirect what you're doing when in fact you know it better than they do. And it's so obvious that you do, and it's obvious also that what they're doing is acting on some sort of defense mechanism, which is completely unproductive. And it puts you in a situation where, you know, your character is put to test. So, in summary, what I'm saying is that there are several steps to building a winning team, a winning environment, a winning culture, whether it's in corporate America with your employees, your colleagues, or in your own personal life. You have to do one-on-one marketing. You have to find out what each individual is all about, what makes them tick, and what motivates them. And remember those things, because you get to leverage that to help them in hard times and to also help them to become the best they can be. Then you have to remember situational leadership. Remember that people are on different levels. Everybody's on a different level, and you have to coach, you have to lead,